What's going on, my friends? Eddie Walker here. Today, I'm going to show you how to make templates inside of Logic Pro. Having templates just makes your workflow go a little bit faster, and the faster your workflow, the more apt you are to be able to stay in that creative flow and not be distracted by a bunch of things that you have to set up. So let's get those things set up ahead of time. That way, all you have to worry about is just creating. Let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, off jump, whenever you open Logic, you're gonna get this window here. We're gonna start with just a new empty project, just so I can show you how to set everything that you want Logic to do. So we're just gonna do empty project, and we're just gonna do choose. Now, even here, you can pick, whenever you pick an instrument, especially a MIDI instrument, you can come in here and pick, let's go with studio piano. Every single time I put a new MIDI instrument on here, I'm going to do Option Command S. Every time I open it up, it's going to be that MIDI piano, that studio piano, I'm sorry. So if you ever want to change that, all you have to do is open up the new track window and then change this instrument, change this to whatever instrument you want it to be every time you pull up a new software instrument. This can be stock sounds, this could be anything from third-party plugins. Whatever you want that to be, you set that up as you want it to. So the next thing I want to do when I'm setting up a template is go into the settings and make sure that project settings are the way I want them to be. You're going to have settings obviously in your preferences, but you're also going to have settings all along the top row here, especially when you're talking about your snap, your drag, and so on. One of the things I like to do from the jump is change my snap to absolute value. That just makes me feel better that when I snap something to the grid, it's snapping to the grid, not necessarily snapping in a relative fashion. So what do I mean in a relative fashion? So let me just pull up a random region here. If I move this back to relative, so we see where this is kind of landing on bar 27. If I try to move this to bar 26, it's going to move and snap to the same relative position that it was at bar 27. For me, I like to have control over where the region is sitting. So another thing that we want to do, especially if we have a template that we're wanting to bring up every single time we're doing a project. So in the settings menu under general and project handling, I want my startup action to be create project using default template. Now, once you get done making this template, this is what you want to select to populate your project. So obviously I have some templates here. So when I pick these templates, so let's just say Ready Player One 4/4. There we go. So now, every time I open my Logic project, that rhymes, it's going to bring up this template. Again, this is a setting that you want to do at the end of the process of doing everything that you're wanting to do for your template. Okay, the next thing we're going to want to do is go into project settings. So every project will have particular settings put in place. But since you're putting this in a template, every time you pull this template up, it'll have these same project settings. So one of the ones that I like to make sure I change for the particular project is under the MIDI section. And I'm going to go to Chase, and I'm going to select Notes. So what Chase allows you to do is to play a sustained MIDI region from the middle. Most of the time, if you don't have Chase on, you won't be able to hear any of the notes that are sustained in the middle. You would have to play the playhead from the beginning of the region in order to hear the whole thing. This way, you can play in the middle of a region and hear what notes are in that region without having to go back to the beginning. This next setting is important, especially if you have MIDI devices that you want to use as far as an arpeggiator or anything that needs some sort of time synchronization to allow for that particular instrument or MIDI controller to do its thing. I'm going to go into synchronization and I'm going to go to, let's go to MIDI. What you want to do is go to destination, and I'm going to make sure that this clock goes to my Launchkey MK4 25 MIDI in. So the Launchkey has a built-in, what do you call that thing? Arpeggiator. In order for the arpeggiator inside of the Launchkey to sync up with the timing inside of Logic, I need to do this process. So what I'm going to do is press clock. To be honest with you, I don't really know what all these other buttons are, but I always press them just to cover all my bases. So we're just going to press all these. And then I find that using pattern quantize clock start based off of pattern length, I find that works the best for me. Now, whenever I go to use the arpeggiator inside of my Launchkey, it's going to match up with the project tempo. No matter what I'm doing, it'll reset with the playhead, and just everything will stay in sync. So that's one setting that you'll want, especially if you have any MIDI devices that you want to be synced up. So I'm going to go into my piano roll. There's a few settings in here that I like to make sure are changed. One in particular, setting the note color by velocity. I like to see when the note's velocity is changing. This is also personal preference. If you like doing region color is really nice if you have a lot of instruments playing on top of each other and you want to see where on the piano they're landing. This is really good if you want to get instruments out of the way of each other, and you're able to see that on the piano roll, especially if they're different colors on their tracks and on their regions. I also like to go into the piano roll and do the same thing that I did for the main area here and just change everything to absolute. So another thing I like to do is on my main stereo out, I like to put a mono plugin. So I'll just do the gain plugin, and then I'm going to set this to mono and just turn that off for now. This is more for mixing purposes. Typically when you're mixing in mono, you're able to hear how things are coming across, and you can also hear if there are any phasing issues with how things are sitting on top of each other. Sometimes when you pan things, you don't really hear what's really happening to them. I know if my track sounds good in mono, it's going to sound good in stereo, and I don't have to worry about it. Another adjustment that you can make is up on the top here, just customizing this top control bar. So anything that you would like to see up here, I believe this is my typical setup here. And most of these I know a lot of the shortcuts for, so a lot of the times there's a lot of things on here, like all the different views I know the shortcuts for, so I just don't have them up there. Again, whatever works for your workflow, that's what you got to do. So another thing you can add to your template is different screen sets. So up here, you can choose different screen sets. Let's say you wanted a screen set that was focused on the main workspace here, and then you wanted a screen set. Let's duplicate this screen set. Let's call this one mixing. So now this screen set has the mixer pulled up. So the default for switching between screen sets are the numbers on the top row of your keyboard. So if I tap 1, that was the original screen set. If I tap 2, that was the second screen set. I can make another screen set. Let's duplicate. Let's call this MIDI stuff. I'm very creative with the names. So what I'll do, let's say I actually want a whole separate, get out of there. Let's say I want a whole separate window. So I'm gonna do Command 4. And let's say I want my MIDI set up like that. Now this is screen set 3. So now I have my main screen set, my second screen set, and my third screen set. These can get kind of wild, but you can customize it to whatever you want it to be, and it'll be in the template when you save it. Most importantly, let's go over how to save your template. If you go up here to File and stay there, Save as Template. Template-y stuff. A lot of stuff today. All right. Save it. Like I said from the beginning, we're going to go back to our settings. We're going to go to General, and we're going to go to Project Handling, and we're going to change this default template now to the template we made. Template-y stuff. We choose that. Fantastic. And just to show that it works, I'm going to go out of this. I don't need to save this project. The template is already saved. So I'll go back into Logic Pro. Now, as you can see, I opened up the template and it came back. Let's check our screen sets. So all our screen sets are there. All right, guys, hopefully this helped you learn how to create templates, and hopefully it sparked some ideas about your workflow inside of Logic. If this helped you out at all, please like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends. Follow me on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and as always, stay inspired, stay motivated, and keep on creating. All right, guys, we'll see you next time.